On the windswept hills of northern England, the remnants of a stone wall stretch from one sea to another. This 120 kilometers or 73 miles long wall marked the end of the road for Rome, one of the world's most magnificent empires. Welcome to Encyclopedia Historia. In this video, we will discuss Hadrian's Wall, one of the most significant pieces of evidence for Rome's shift from expansion to defense, which marked a turning point in the empire's history. Our story takes place in the early 2nd century AD. Emperor Publius Aelius Hadrianus Augustus, or simply Hadrian, came to the conclusion that the empire's borders reached its natural limits, and decided that Rome's territory needed protection against barbarian threats. Conquering new lands and expanding the borders were no longer advantageous for the empire. Instead, Rome faced persistent enemies on its borders, such as the stubborn Germans and formidable Persians. Protecting the existing borders from numerous attacks was a significant challenge. Furthermore, the administration of the empire was costly, requiring a substantial amount of money to keep things running smoothly. Taxing the incomes of traders entering and leaving the country would contribute to Rome's prosperity and stability. Additionally, while Rome needed extra money, it did not need additional manpower. Rome had a sizable population for its time, and increasing unemployment, exacerbated by the fact that most tasks were performed by slaves, presented a growing problem for the rulers. Rome couldn't afford to feed the increasing number of unemployed, nor could it tolerate the influx of illegal immigrants trying to enter the empire, by calling it the land of milk and honey. Therefore, measures had to be taken to halt them. 2,000 years ago, the solutions to these problems were similar to those employed by many countries today. Borders would be sealed with high walls, stricter controls would be implemented, and illegal immigration would be prevented. To enhance border security, walls made of piled earth and wooden fences were constructed on the Germanic border, and border roads patrolled by guards were established on the Arabian frontier. Existing structures were reinforced. Among the border walls built, the one in northern England, known as Valum Ilium, had a special place. Conflict still raged in England at the time. Northern England was the remotest province of the mighty empire. On the other side of the border, lived the Caledonians in Scotland. Hadrian's Wall, which Hadrian ordered to be built, was expected to have a significant impact on both the inhabitants of the Roman borders, and the Caledonians living on the barbarian side. The Caledonians who crossed the borders continuously attacked Roman towns and fortresses. The wall would strengthen border security, and eliminate the enemy's chances of launching surprise attacks. Moreover, the border where the wall was to be built, was relatively short compared to the empire's other frontiers. The methods required for an ideal border defense would be tested and refined here, and successful techniques would be applied to other borders. A wall spanning the entire length of the border would stop unwanted migrants, prevent smuggling, and ensure that everyone engaged in trade with Rome paid their taxes. Furthermore, this wall would expedite the Romanization of the conquered lands, and symbolize order and strength against the barbarians, who constantly attacked the borders. Previously constructed barriers were merged upon Hadrian's orders, forming an impregnable wall made of stone, high, and reinforced with ditches and ramparts. After the completion of the wall, anyone on the other side would be considered as a barbarian to Rome, and their entry would be prohibited. This construction would demonstrate Rome's resolute stance against the constant rebellion and unrest in England. Starting as earth and timber, the wall transformed into a stone structure, approximately 3.5 to 5 meters or 12 to 20 feet in height. In some areas, the wall was painted white, making it even more striking, amid the green and grey hues of England's natural landscape. It was a structure that astounded the inhabitants of England and the Caledonians, living in timber and earthen structures, akin to a dragon perched on the hills. The wall planned by Rome for defense was not just a stone wall. Deep ditches were dug in front of and behind the wall. Traps made of hewn logs were set in the flat areas on the barbarian side of the wall, extending to the ditches. On the Roman side, there was another deep ditch, and piled earth structures that could turn into temporary second walls, when supported by wooden fences. Additionally, at intervals of approximately 1,500 meters or 1 mile, castles were constructed as passage points. These castle-like structures not only ensured security, but also controlled and taxed everyone entering and exiting Roman territory. Each mile castle was manned by about 30 legionaries, who monitored entrances and exits, collected taxes from traders, and patrolled the wall. Between these mile castles, communication and watchtowers were built at intervals of 500 meters or 540 yards. When it became evident during construction that the wall required more protection than initially estimated, it was decided to build 17 major fortresses to house large forces. These major fortresses, each housing approximately 1,000 soldiers, allowed mounted patrols to secure the border and offer more robust resistance against attackers. So, how was this monumental wall constructed? Were prisoners of war, and local villagers forced to work under the sword's edge, like the Great Wall of China? Or were aliens involved? Interestingly, Hadrian's Wall was constructed by soldiers, who served in the legions dispatched to England. When the Roman army went on campaigns in foreign regions, they built the necessary roads, bridges, and fortresses with their own engineers and soldiers. In other words, legionaries were not just warriors but also carpenters, stonemasons, and road engineers. For Hadrian's Wall, Roman soldiers quarried, cut, and shaped approximately 18 million stones to construct the wall. One of the reasons for building the wall was to prevent legions causing trouble or immunity when they had no one to fight. Thousands of legionaries were kept occupied for decades, cutting and shaping millions of stones for the construction of the Hadrian's Wall. The construction of Hadrian's Wall, involving 10,000 legionaries, revealed traces of the empire's shift to defense, and the fact that things in Rome were not as orderly as they seemed. Details such as walls being abruptly thinned midway, gates opening into the mountains, or unfinished fortresses indicated that the project's designs changed according to the orders. Initially, this might seem inconsequential, but it served as an example of the arbitrary governance of the empire, foreshadowing the future damage it would cause. When studying Hadrian's Wall and its fortresses, it was learned that the Roman way of life and administration of the time were not as straightforward as previously thought. For instance, excavations at Vindolanda, one of the most famous castles on the wall, revealed that these castles, designed like small Roman towns, were not only military points but also attraction centers of activity from a daily life perspective. Settlement centers were found just outside the walls of these castles, a feature not commonly seen in typical Roman forts. Furthermore, tablets with inscriptions found during castle excavations provided detailed information about the daily lives of soldiers and civilians stationed at the wall. It was discovered that legionaries, who were normally not allowed to marry, did not strictly adhere to this rule, in what was considered the end of the world, Britain. Some of them formed families, and lived in houses near the castles during their service. The lifespan of Hadrian's Wall was short, just like the empire. First, the soldiers stationed on the wall were recalled to fight other enemies of Rome, resulting in weakened security. Over time, as Rome's interest in England waned, no one remained to watch over the misty lands of Scotland beyond the wall. As the empire rapidly began losing territory, Hadrian's grand plan to encircle all borders of the empire with walls also turned into a dream. By the 5th century, the wall had disappeared into the mists of England. The stones that made up the wall were used in the construction of other buildings. Over time, one of the greatest symbols of Rome's occupation of England eroded and vanished. However, even though the wall has disappeared, its impact on England has not completely faded. It is said that the word wall in modern English, referring to a barrier, is derived from vallum, the Latin name for the wall. After being forgotten for centuries, Hadrian's Wall began to be remembered in the last century. The wall, along with sites like Vindolanda, draws the attention of many tourists, and hosts tens of thousands of visitors. Additionally, Hadrian's Wall is among historical hiking trails. Like all empires in history, Rome also could not withstand the test of time, and eventually disappeared. However, Hadrian's Wall still stands as evidence of the empire's efforts to survive, continuing to watch over the misty lands of Scotland. Thank you for watching Encyclopedia Historia. If you like our video, please like, share and subscribe.